865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. Great to be with you on a Monday. Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. On the road today, we're at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista. We're squeezed right between Cabela's and Embassy Suites. Guy who just got a shout out about a week ago on Better Call Saul, Brandon Kinnie, is with me today. Of course, Elijah Herbel back at our studios in Lincoln. We are honored to be on in Omaha today as we get kicked off on ESPN Omaha 4 to 6, right after the Nick Handley show and preceding Sports Nightly. So numbers to get in and join us here on Hail Varsity Radio, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Find us on Twitter at Schmidt_radio, at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbel. BK, your Twitter handle's BKitty84.
Yeah, I've been locked out of that thing for years.
You've been locked out of Twitter?
Man, I've been locked out of that for I know Audie and them were doing some stuff with it a long time ago.
Okay.
It's just well,
Audie and Blake are the two guys to know.
Yeah, right. Especially the Twitter game.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll talk a little wide out, a little offensive football today with BK as he's kind enough to pop by. We'll check in with Dr. Rob Zatechka as he'll join us. Also, Tony Veland set to stop by, and Mr. Blackshirt Charlie McBride kicks off hour 2. So, Elijah, thanks for keeping quarters in the machine, man. What's new with you? Good weekend. You ready for some football?
You know, for me, I'm on fireman duty today, just in case there's any fires with the new affiliates up in Omaha. I'm just here to grab the hose and put out the fire and keep us moving today. So I can handle it, and I'm enjoying it here in Lincoln today.
BK, what's up with you? Good weekend. Ready for some ball? What's this time of year do for you with now day 3 or 4 at camp? At what point were you like, man, is camp over?
Man, it's so funny because I talk about, I was just talking to my youth boys about a week ago how I used to cold tub, and I would cold tub from my neck down to make sure I would be able to come back the next day and be ready to go. But man, camp is always long, man. But what you sent me earlier about Mickey talking about you got to put days together, it speaks volumes because that's the ultimate goal, is to really just compete, but also put days together. So when you are ready to step out there Saturday, you're ready to go full go. So
I can imagine to get into the heat you make and dial through it, and then you're hitting one another, and then let's get to Ireland if you're Nebraska.
Yeah,
and it's a interesting setup. And a thought from you, where are you at as former Husker? From an optimism and a realism standpoint, as you look at this season, we know what's out there, and that's kind of put up or shut up season for Scott. And I know a lot of Nebraska fans want the put up part. And hey, a lot of new talents been infused. Yeah, where are you at here, man? As a guy that wore that red N and have been watching for a while.
Yeah, I'm always optimistic, but I feel like I'm more realistic than some fans. I'm in the Husker chats on Facebook, and it's always like, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid this year. We just got this player. And it's just but I mean, I'm always optimistic and excited to see them. I was telling someone at church yesterday, I hope that Scott is the guy. I want him to be the guy. I believe that he is. I hope that it's a huge change and jump this year to where we can really build on something and put seasons together, right? to build some momentum to really go off of. So I'm excited. I'm just ready for football. My house is a football house, including my wife. So it's like we're all screaming on Saturdays, ready to go. So we are ready and anxious for football to get started.
From a comfort level for you guys are doing 7-on-7s, presumably with all the quarterbacks, right? And at what point do you need to get comfortable with who the guy is? You probably know it, or you feel who is best for you personally, but at what point does that need to be named here as camp matriculates? And man, we're 27 days from Ireland.
Yeah, I think that's a great question.
Fair?
Yeah, that's a great question. I believe, because I go back to my junior year with Zach Lee and Taylor Martinez and that coming out, and we didn't find out until he came up on the Jumbotron. It was like, oh, we got Taylor, but we worked with him all throughout the upcoming season, the off season. So to me, it's one of those things. It's like whenever the coach makes the decision, we can go out there and perform. I think as a receiver, you want to catch the ball. You want to run great routes to catch the ball and get open. So I think whoever's back there, you just get your mindset for whoever's there. and you just go out there and play ball. You can only control what you can control, right? But I would get a good dose of both quarterbacks any chance that I can, if it's after practice, if I didn't get enough reps or anything like that, just to get used to it all. But catching the football is catching the football and making plays. So
Brandon Kinnie with us, former Husker, and doing some youth ministry work, as well as doing fantastic work with some training. And what do we got here? What do we got here?
Alliance Sports Training.
Some of your former teammates allow no free shout-outs. We're all about free shout-outs.
Compton, I love them.
Yeah,
man,
there's
so much.
financial. I mean, it is what it is. Camp is here. We'll hear from Mark Whipple and some Mickey Joseph. Your take on Mickey? I know we've had you on in the past, but he says he's got 6 ready, or feels like he has 6 ready. But he lit up his guys a little bit today about saying that the DBs won the day.
Yes, I love that. Watching that interview and him going off and talking about the Iron Fist, I just feel like in this day, that's what we need. We need black and white. And in my time, Bo was black and white with us, and we really appreciated it. But it's like, yeah, I got to get 6 guys ready to play, and you guys got to come out here and be ready to compete, and you're only going to get better. I tell my youth boys all the time, it's like, look, your best player started somewhere, right? You can't skip the process. So if you want to be great, you got to do this consistently. It's not just waking up and you get this free pass to be the greatest player of all time. You really got to work at it. So I love his black and white approach of like, hey, look, they know what I expect. You should come out here and play hard, play fast, catch the ball. And especially the guys that he's coached in the past at LSU, yeah, you got to bring it. You have to bring it. I need to see it. So I respect that so much.
Is the Iron Fist needed in the wide receiver room more than other rooms?
I think so, man. You know, for me being a wide eye, like I'm going to say so, because we need
your diva meter is probably about 2 or 3 versus, I don't know, 12, 14.
Yeah, but you know, in our time, we had to block. You know, me, Niles, Mike McNeil, we always clowned each other and clowned the coaches of like, dude, we're just glorified linemen on the outside. But we took pride in that. We took pride in pancakes. We took pride in being big physical wide receivers on the edge, and we wanted to go out there and do that and compete with each other throughout the game. Now, how many pancakes you got? Oh, I got this many. I got, so that was a different perspective to look at it in that manner too. So
Brandon Kinnie's with us here. We're here at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista, kicking off day 1 in Omaha. Hail Varsity Radio can dial us up. All find us. We're streaming on ESPN Omaha, StreamYard, and also ESPN Lincoln. Elijah Herbel back in our studios. We'll dive into the offensive line spot in a little bit. Elijah, I know that's kind of your pet area, being a former offensive lineman at Lincoln Southeast. But I'm interested too. What is for show and what's for real? As from a perspective standpoint, when you hear coaches talk, we're talking Whipple, and I think he's pretty straight up. I think he's pretty genuine. I think he's lovable and grumpy enough to be genuine in that aspect, not just selling sunshine. Is that how you take it away, or are you just painting positive this time of year no matter what you saw?
Yeah, that's a great question. I remember when we first changed offensive coordinators and Tim Beck came in, and it was funny because we had a Big Ten interview that I went up there with the guys, and he said, BK, do not tell them what our offense is. You just tell them we're going to play fast. And literally, they might have asked me 5 or 6 questions, and I just kept saying, we're going to play fast. We're going to play fast. So I think for me, you never want to give too much. You want to give enough, right, for people to really understand and get a perspective of what you're doing. But you don't want to show your hand. So I believe that he's just putting what he has to put out there so he could just move forward, but then continue to really compete and build these guys up and be ready to perform.
His tone to me said, we'll just find a way against Northwestern, get in the zone, get points. That wasn't always a guarantee last year.
Yeah.
A thought from you, is that a healthy outlook going into this weird pressure cooker?
Yeah.
It's always a pressure cooker, but now you're going across the pond for it.
And I think I think every year, right, in all these different organizations and leagues, if it's NFL to college, you get perspective from all the players, you get perspective from all the coaches, but it's another thing to just like go line up there and play football. Go line up and know what you're doing. Go play fast. If you make a mistake, do it 100 miles per hour. Come back, make up for that play, and continue to put days together. And I think that's where he's kind of at, being that old grumpy guy of like, hey, look, I'm not going to sit up here and talk and give you all these smooth lines. We're just going to go play football. And that's what I'm about too. It's like, line up and play football. I don't care what you do. Let's play football and let's let it, let's put that out there on the field. So,
Brandon, I want to ask you, put yourself in the shoes of a player who's going through fall camp right now. Would you prefer to have a conference opponent for your first game in order to, have it mean something, give you a reason to make it through these dog days of summer and of fall camp? Or would you rather have that warm-up opponent to let you iron out some of the kinks? Just because, there's pros and cons to each. One in terms of being able to run up the score on somebody a little bit and get some confidence going. But on the other side of things, it's kind of hard to get yourself geared up for a team you've probably never even heard of before.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it's a perspective thing too. At the end of the day, we're playing football, right? I'm here to play football. I want to go out there and prove myself that I am a high caliber athlete. Now, I'm not going to lie and say we didn't look forward to those beginner games and saying, hey, we could kind of get the kinks out and work them out. But I think this is like, you got to bring it out right away now. Now you got to be ready to go. There is no excuses. Like, you got to start fast and at the beginning. So I think at the end of the day, it's football, and you should just go out there and be ready to play, especially if you go to Ireland, man. Do you know what I would do to be going out there and hanging out? Like, Virginia Tech was my first flight ever, but first flight as a Nebraska Cornhusker. And unfortunately, we dropped that one. But, that was a fun time. But to go to Ireland, man, that sounds so cool.
So your first game ever, here's Enter Sandman rocking. And you guys had it until you didn't.
Yeah, man. It was so
Brandon
loud.
Puts his headset down and walks out of here.
It was so loud.
At least you got to go for free. Yeah. Somebody in the audience paid his way for that one. But no, here at the Hail Varsity Club. No, but this is going to be unique, and it's kind of backwards where Northwestern's treating it like a bowl game. Yeah. They've been to bowl games. No one on this roster has been to a bowl game. Yeah. So you worry about focus?
No, I think that this game has been, I feel like, given enough fuel to give the understanding that we got to come out here focused and ready to go. Like, this is not bowl game atmosphere. This is the beginning of the year. We got to prove a point. We got to let it be known that we're coming out this year to play fast. So I would think that the focus is that, like, this is a business trip, as you always hear, and it gets cliche sometimes, but especially at the beginning of the year, because I think it speaks volumes if you can go over there to Ireland and play well, play fast, and beat a team good. Yeah, I think that sets you up for the season to kind of get some things rolling.
Brandon Kinnie is with us, former Husker standout, and doing some youth ministry and youth coaching. Again, the Alliance Sports Training. Yeah, there we go. So, thought from you: are you into Better Call Saul, the TV show?
Oh, you know what? I never heard about it until this past week. Yep,
okay.
Until I seen it. Yep.
Okay, so let me set it up. It's Breaking Bad. You heard that?
I heard that.
Did you ever watch that or no?
I finished like half the seasons, then I just kind of stopped watching it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Better Call's a prequel. And part of the heist, spoiler alert, was Jimmy's character distracting the security guard so somebody could go on a shopping spree. Okay, and the security guard is a hardy Nebraskan that is in love with Nebraska, and the reference point is 2010. Yeah, and he's talking about Bo, and on the sideline, the security guard is. But when Bo gets it done, I love him for it, right? And then he's like, how about that Kenny? Kenny, 3 touchdowns against Oklahoma State.
That was cool, man. Well, I didn't know what was happening. Somebody tagged me on Facebook.
It was crazy.
I was like, what is this? And I looked at it, and I seen Blake had tweeted something. And then I had just everybody text me. My wife at her job was like, do you know you're on a TV show? Or they said so. Like, yeah, I keep hearing that today. I said, man, we need to figure out some NIL. What happened with it? We need to get something. But no, it was super cool. All my friends in Kansas City was like, BK, did you see this, man? I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
That is good. He was talking who else about Martinez.
Yeah, Martinez.
They were. It's funny in the episode they were PO'd about the Texas.
Yeah.
They were hugging you about Oklahoma State. And they were going into, I think it kind of cut off probably right before A&M.
Oh,
is where I'm going. Well, but hey, great season.
Yeah.
Big time season.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to say, though, they also did absolutely nail the premise of the fact that, like, if you want to distract somebody in Nebraska, just start talking Husker football.
He's sitting there.
I love that point, Elijah. That's great.
He's got this 7-pound cinnamon roll. He don't need it. and he's hammering it.
Talking about Husker football.
Yeah. Meanwhile, behind the wall of cameras, there's Armani's going out the door. There's Air Jordans going out the door.
It's so funny, man.
Brandon, where can folks find you and get in touch if they're feeling a little football for their youngins?
Yeah, man. So I'm on Facebook, Brandon Kinnie, Alliance Sports Training. On Instagram, Alliance_Sports_Training. Same on Facebook. But yeah, we starting this year. We're playing in the Great Plains League this year.
Oh, great.
So we'll start here in about 2 weeks. We started practice. Concordia starts up too as well. My good friend Cruz Barrett is the head coach there.
Okay.
So we start this year. So we're excited, man. We're excited. We're excited to get going. We're excited to get things going and rolling. And hopefully we can turn some stuff around.
BK, appreciate you, man.
Man. Appreciate you, man. Thanks
Brandon Kinnie with us.
Man.
We're here at Hail Varsity Club in La Vista. We continue on some thoughts from Whipple on the way with Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
And we're back
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio lesson?
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Big thanks to Husker wideout Brandon Kinnie. Some thoughts on this upcoming season, some thoughts on Better Call Saul. As we are here at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista, we invite you out. We're kicking off being in Omaha here on a Monday here at the Hail Varsity Club. Incredible food and drink special. I know they had wing specials last Friday for National Chicken Wings Day. Some of the flavors they were laying down, flat out incredible. Peanut butter and jelly. Some other flavors that are traditional, but some specialty ones. I've been here a couple of times. The beer is cold, as is the vodka, and the burgers to die for. Elijah, your mouth is watering. You can stream us as we're StreamYarding here on ESPN Omaha, also ESPN Lincoln. Do so on Twitter, both those Twitter handles on the way. Rob Zatechka going to talk some offensive line. Charlie McBride will be with us. And we'll spend some time with Tony Veland and Warren Academy. And big thanks to Brandon Kinnie. Does such a great job with the kids and super passionate. And, yeah, the feedback he had, Better Call Saul, another episode tonight, 8 Central. We'll have our review with Mike St. James on that tomorrow. But if you don't want to cook, you don't want to grill, and you are done with 97% humidity with a heat index of plus 100, and I'm always for grilling. I invite you out here to get some dinner tonight on a Monday here at the Hail Varsity Club. Numbers to get in, 466-3776 or 800-825-5865. Find us on Twitter at Schmidt_radio or at Herbal Essence. Both ways to get in touch with us. Also, email chris@hailvarsity.com. So, Elijah, let's dive into it. It was 30 minutes of open practice for Nebraska. Mark Whipple, Mickey Joseph, several players got to spend time post-practice, but many of the media got to observe. And it was good to see action. You never want to shy away from or not take up the opportunity to be there and see what's going on. Is it the same as a Wednesday or a Thursday before you get ready for a road trip to Ireland? No. The intensity, though, is there, and I think the reality is this team has a chance to be much better than Nebraska's been. This team has a reality to be the first bowl team since 2016. And as wide open as the West is, you catch a couple of breaks, but more importantly, you make your own breaks. They have a chance to maybe surprise or at least to get Nebraska fans in a better mindset, so to speak, with whatever happens this year. I think one thing you can bank on with the experience in the room with the new assistants, the different assistants, that Nebraska will be better at taking care of Nebraska this year. That's not a guarantee, but that's one thing I would bet on versus against in 2022. You know you got to do it. You know you got to win. But I think ultimately you're going to have a number of guys like Garrett Nelson, like Reimer, like Henrich, that are, and a Vokalek too, that are going to try and will that. They will make sure their peers are as locked in as they are. And I think maybe that's been lacking in the past.
Yeah, and as we make it through this fall camp, you hear all these names and you get the videos out of camp. I just think it's funny how like media and fans alike go through and dissect every single frame and see what they're
starved for football.
And, like I just look at it and I go, yeah, wow, that offensive line sure does look like they're firing off the ball. That's great. Those receivers sure are running routes. And oh yeah, Scott Frost talked with Trev Alberts at practice today. Like you can't read too far into it because the coaching staff knows this is also a time whenever this is going to be happening, where everyone's going to be taking videos, everyone's going to be taking photos, everything is going to be absolutely dissected down to like the atomic level. So
yes,
you just can't take too much out of this besides going, okay, yeah, look, it looks like the Bryce Benhart looks good at right tackle. Oh, Turner Corcoran's working at left guard. We can see that. And oh, Teddy Prohashka looks like he's coming back well from a knee injury. But like you can't read too much further into it than that.
Totally agree with you on that. Let's get some thoughts from Mark Whipple. Let's hear from Mr. Whip. And quarterbacks on our mind, who's projected starter. You know he's the transfer from Texas. Does he hang on to this job as weeks continue to get closer to Ireland? Here's Whipple from earlier today.
They've been really good. We throw a lot in between. I probably made a mistake last week in camp. We had so much time. We're excited with all the kicking periods we had that I really wore them out, so I'm backing off a little bit. But no, the guys have been working. We had a really good summer of just kind of going over the things they could see themselves in the throw game and in a run game of the mistakes they made, and I've seen the offense take a step forward.
So if he's telling me in this short amount of time that the offense is taking steps forward, the math I have right now is one, whatever workout program / orders or chores to do. Did you ever get the chores list as a kid? I did. That was honed in on and worked on over the summer, and you've got experience in doing so with a guy like Casey Thompson. You've got a renewed vigor from a guy like Harburg, right? Logan Smothers is always going to bust his tail. And then, of course, Chuba Purdy. Health-wise, once he got healthy post-spring, all those guys were going to be putting in work, and it's time to figure out some chemistry, at least on air, with your wide receiving core. Get some rhythm going. And if it's a step forward at this point, this early in camp, I will take Whipple's word for it. No one's rushing the quarterback right now. It's not 3rd and 8 in the fourth quarter. What I need to know, and we won't know till it's kickoff and it gets to a tight ball game, how will whoever wins this quarterback job perform in a tight ball game, Elijah? Because ultimately that's what's going to happen in the Big Ten. How's the quarterback going to perform in a tight ball game in bad weather? Is the quarterback going to have to do it all like Adrian, who's now down at Kansas State, it felt like he's had to do so many times? The workload needs to be shared. More on that summer work with Mark Whipple and his quarterbacks. He spent a little bit of time on that this morning as well.
It's more of a chance to get with them, meet with them, go back over the tape, all their plays they had in the spring and everything else. And then those guys have to do a lot of it on their own. But I thought Casey did a good job. All the quarterbacks did of organizing things that way. And then, talking to them when I was away and that. But you can see a difference now. So they're not looking around, and they know when they make a mistake. That's kind of when you see you're making progress. You can see the young guys make a mistake and they don't know, but the older guys know right away. Okay, man, boom, I'll get it next time. So we've limited the mistake, we've minimized the mistakes, and made some progress.
So let's jump ahead to the relationship part of things. How is Whipple going to be with Frost? How is Frost going to be with Whipple? I think that's fascinating because Scott Frost is a guy that wants to still have a part in the offense. He's been really good. We go back to his Oregon days and his Central Florida days with his offense. He's had really good moments, but not seasons offensively here in Lincoln. So how does he take to Whipple coming in? How's Whipple take to Frost being the boss, that dynamic? But Whipple very complimentary of a number of guys that are, well, no doubt feeling each other out a bit, but they're putting their best foot forward, working together.
Yeah, the guys are really, really good coaches, really good people. You know, Coach Frost did a good job. I didn't know any of them beforehand, and it's kind of been a really good fit. A really good fit. I just like the way those guys, each of us, and I like guys have their own style and bring it to the offense. They brought some ideas, and we put things together, and they're really good people, number one, and really do a good job of managing their group or understanding that way, and really happy with the core.
So there's a ringing endorsement, Elijah, with the coworkers, and I think there's respect for the coworkers, but I think there's some actual true like. Sometimes you tolerate coworkers. I might be the guy that most people tolerate. There might be a smidge of respect mixed in there, but for the most part, we'll just put up with him.
No comment. No comment.
Yeah, no comment. No comment. That's that needy old guy. One now. But Casey Thompson, go ahead.
I was gonna say maybe that comment there from Whipple will throw some cold water on the people that want to go break down to the molecular level of Big Ten Media Days, saying, well, Scott Frost, now that we're almost
call him by name,
didn't call Mark Whipple by name, and he's talking about now not relinquishing the offense. He's still going to be involved. That throws some cold water, I think, when Mark Whipple comes out and says these are all great coaches and things are going well early in terms of us working together. I mean, it is that time of year in terms of everyone's going to break down every single comment and every single word. But I can tell you from working in radio, sometimes the wrong word just comes out and it gives a wrong connotation to an entire sentence or something along those lines where, I mean, the general theme from these coaches have been we're working well together and we're excited for what the season can bring. So let's stick with that until we actually get to the season and something tells us otherwise. But whenever you have pretty much all the coaches in unison saying a similar thing, aside from, maybe one comment at Big Ten Media Days, I tend to go with the majority of what the coaches are saying.
Well, BK just laid it out there. Hey, we're going to go fast. Right? That is the talking point about the offense. Work around it, work with it, but that's it. That's your tell. Nothing else, and the rest will fall into place. Where is Casey Thompson? Coach Whipple here earlier after practice, and an update here on the Texas transfer.
He can make all the throws, but I think right now he's taking another step of going through his progressions a little bit quicker, understanding coverages, understanding the plays. Like, I don't know, we probably had 90 different concepts in the past game, so he only got like maybe 1 or 2 reps. In the summer, he got a few more and was able to see it. Hey, where you can shortcut some of the things that progression by coverage, understanding what the defense is doing. I think that's where he's had a leg up over the other guys. And but I've seen those other guys. I've seen Chuba and Richard Heinrich's had his 2 best days. Rich has been good. Logan's taken another step. So all those guys have gotten better because of knowing what we're doing, then understanding what the defense is doing.
The thing that you got to be excited about as a Nebraska fan with Whipple is not only the present, but the future of development at quarterback. And you've seen it work recently with Pitt's phenom that's now in the NFL. You have a past example in Ben Roethlisberger, and you've got a number of kids behind Casey Thompson that have a lot of years to play. We're out here at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista. Hail Varsity Radio rolls forward, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, Hail Varsity, on the road today in La Vista, Hail Varsity Club, where we are at, and excited to be on in Omaha day one here with ESPN Omaha, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We're also streaming live on ESPN Lincoln's Facebook and Twitter. Can also find us on email, chris@hailvarsity.com. Twitter is where we're at Schmidt_radio, and at Essence. Plenty of thoughts from Mark Whipple a bit ago. Brandon Kinnie got us kicked off on site here. Husker wide receiver, stand out his thoughts on the offense, and some Better Call Saul in-person response and reaction to last week's episode. On the way, Dr. Rob Zatechka, part of the Doc podcast. Dr. Rob will share some thoughts on the O-line. Anxious to pick his brain on that potential combo of Teddy and Turner on the left side. Charlie McBride in about 15 minutes. And Tony Veland, Husker standout, part of the Warren Academy. He'll join us here on site as well. So if you're thinking about dinner, you're always invited out here to the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista. Great food and drink specials. I see a Busch Light tall boy. If that's your thing, that's all good. So you mentioned some cold water, Elijah, and we played a comment a bit ago from Mark Whipple regarding, what do you think of the staff, Coach Whipple? And Whipple's like, everyone's great. Well, wonderful. You wouldn't expect day 4 at camp or whatever it is to to start going hatchet job.
That's a good point.
but the way he, I don't think he would BS. Everyone's good, dude. They're professionals. They're fine. I mean, he's been at all levels of football. Mickey Joseph, meanwhile, talked about a bad day from his wide receivers. Here's what Mickey had to say. He called out his guys.
They understand it. They understand what my soft on them. I'm never going to, cater to them. I'm never going to tell them what they want to hear. I'm always going to tell them the truth, but I'm going to demand that they play for excellence. That's what they're trying to reach excellence, and that's how you win. That's how you win. That's winning football when you can stack days and put it together every day, because then Saturday becomes easy. But if you lose in practice and lose in practice and lose in practice, you're going to lose on Saturday. And I watch all of that. We watch all that. Scott, that's what we watch. We got to watch that.
And Mickey watched it today, and they didn't win the room. They didn't win the day. The defensive backs had a better day. And publicly, Mickey's going to let him know about it. Privately, it's okay, because some of Nebraska's best teams, Elijah, and you get this with really good football teams, someday the offense wins the day, someday the defense wins the day, and the next day the other side of the ball presumably comes back and returns the favor. You want that back and forth. You hear a lot of NFL guys mention iron sharpening iron. Well, it's true, and tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised if the wideouts had a really good day. And if you stack 2 or 3 good days in a row and your wideout room turns out to be pretty high level, that means you got an insanely good secondary. So there's a method to this, and Mickey Joseph was not having any of it. He's pretty much the leader of that wide receiver room, and it is a dictatorship.
Yeah, and think about the type of talent he's gotten the pleasure of coaching over the past couple of years. And we heard a lot about this whenever he came to Nebraska. Oh, he coached Justin Jefferson. Oh, he coached Jamar Chase, coached all these great athletes. And then you put it into context of what he's seeing here at Nebraska. I'm not saying Nebraska's got bad wide receivers by any means, but think about the standard that he set at LSU with those guys. Even the guys behind him are coming up, and those are the guys they're trying to aspire to be. So you're trying to establish that same kind of culture in this room of guys who are going to go off and be NFL guys, guys who are going to go off, not necessarily be Pro Bowlers, but they're going to make an impact at the next level. If you can have those types of guys in the room, it's just setting a culture for the future. And this is the year where it starts. It's year 1 under a new assistant coach where you establish that and you try to find a couple guys that can play like you want your wide receivers to play. Maybe not 100% at Justin Jefferson level or Jamar Chase level, but you're trying to set that now. So even if the receivers have a good day compared to yesterday, but it's still up to that Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase standard, you're going to ask more from them just because of what you're trying to build. It's not short-sighted enough to say this is good enough for this year. It's what you're trying to build as a whole in your room during your entire time at Nebraska, and that's what you set in this year 1. So, I mean, it's no surprise that he's going to have high standards for these guys. And it's all about, as you said, how they respond. Do they come back with a fire in their belly tomorrow?
Let's hear from Mickey a little bit as he started off his post-practice media session when it comes to impressions in the room. What's he working with here? And it sounds like he's got 6 guys pretty well narrowed down. And I think some guys that you think should have good camps or should have had a good offseason have come into camp maybe where he wanted it. Mickey's a perfectionist, so no one's ever going to be perfect for him. That said, though, I think he's okay with where the starting point's been.
Well, as a whole, the group's been pretty solid. You know, they've been pretty solid. But I think Omar's having a good camp right now. You know, I think he's really playing at a high level. You know, I'm happy where Trey's at. I'm happy where Oliver's at right now, and Marcus is really doing a really good job to say he just got in here. And Isaiah, this is Isaiah's first live reps since about November when he was last at New Mexico State. So they all coming together, you know, Brody, they all coming together. But I talked to him today about just stacking days. You know, don't have a good day, then be satisfied and come back and play average. Keep stacking days, keep extending. That's what I've been talking to him about.
More from Mickey, stacking days to that high-level talent you need to win. And Mickey's pretty honest about what type of talent he wants and what type of talent can turn a special season in.
You always go back to what Kirby said. Kirby Smart said, coaching can't overcome recruiting. Coaching can't. You can't win with bad players. You can't win with bad players. You got to have good players to win. You know, and I tell him like this. I always joke with him and say, I'm not that good of a coach. I need talent. I need you to be a talented kid, because at the end of the day, you're playing Power 5 football. It's not like the kids who give the most effort and the least talented kids gonna win. Most time, who wins on Saturday, who has the most men, but also who has the most talent, and you need talent to win.
Very obvious, but a reminder sometimes needed. You get a high level of talent. Now, what do you do with the talent? Do you coach it up? Do you maximize it? Do you get 8-9 wins out of it? Do you fall short and go 5-7? I think that's a problem if you bump into some of the former Huskers, Elijah. Talent's not been a problem down at 10th and Vine. It's development.
And it's especially relevant with what we've seen in the past couple of years, where Husker fans have been sitting at home on Saturdays going, why is Omar Manning not in the field? Why is Xavier Betts not on the field? We've seen the talent, whether it be through spring games or through limited snaps. We've seen the talent. Why aren't they on the field? I think that's a little bit of Mickey answering that question, saying, I'm going to get that best talent on the field.
Well, and you got to earn your way on to the field. And that's one thing that Mickey's really great at, is whether you're 5-star, 3-star, or no star, if he coaches you up and you're good, he will make sure that you have done everything he's asked to have that pleasure of playing ball. We'll wind down hour one here from the Hail Varsity Club with Hail Varsity Radio.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Great to have you back, Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. We are here at the Hail Varsity Club. Some burgers, some beers, some fries. I think I see some nachos going on. We're here just kind of between the Embassy and Cabela's, if you're familiar with where the Hail Varsity Club is at in La Vista. It's nestled right there. Plenty of cold beer. And imagine this place for Monday Night Football. Yes. That is just around the corner. We are gearing up for Nebraska as the show going to be on the road for Ireland. We're here this Friday again, and every Friday leading up to Ireland, and a lot of the road football Fridays, Hail Varsity will be up here at the Hail Varsity Club. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, we are honored to be in Omaha and get things kicked off on ESPN Omaha. So, Elijah, a thought for you. You've had to go through the camp grind more so than me, and I'm interested. What's the most weight you either had to drop or put on? And I asked that because Chancellor Brewington is up to 215. He's looking like our man Pat in the weight room. Pat didn't even hear the compliment.
Oh.
Yeah, you. Delayed laugh. There's no laugh track here. And he 3 to 4 times to put on that bulk. Did you ever work out 3 or 4 times in a day? And that's what Brewington was doing this summer, this offseason, in preparation for camp.
most I ever got to was 2, and I thought that was even like a little bit ridiculous. Where I'm like, what am I even doing here? Like, I'll just eat some more calories here, and my weight will go up. Like, it'll be all good. But like, I mean, there is something significant. You want to come in, at least in my experience. I was no like Division I football player, but you almost wanted to come into camp just like a little bit over the actual playing weight you wanted to be at, just because of that grind of fall camp. It's hard to eat as many calories as it's going to take to be able to keep your weight where you want it to be. So, I mean, for me, it was pretty standard through fall camp. Water weight combined with just getting into football shape, which is a very different thing from being in like shape during the summer. It's one thing if you're in shape during the summer, but it's another thing completely to be in shape during football season. So, I mean, 10 to 15 pounds usually would come off during fall camp, just as you get into that playing shape, which is, I mean, you can be the strongest guy in the weight room. You can be super well conditioned and still not be ready to go step foot on a football field. It's 2 different types of conditioning.
It is. And you're done with the 2.5 hour practice, and then the dreaded gassers, or run the hill, or whatever special hell of conditioning the coaches had in mind. Say they're ticked off and it's a bad practice, and oops, it's time to run again. That's some dedication for Brewington. I know he was not happy with missing as much springtime as he did, but man, he's been a weapon for Nebraska inside the goal line with his crackback blocks, and there's an opportunity for him to make some noise as another tight end receiving option. Reminder to get buckled up, hands on the wheel, eyes in mind, straight ahead. The driver has one job: to drive. This message from the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. Into hour 2 we go. We'll get it kicked off with Mr. Blackshirt Charlie McBride, a Monday with Charlie, and we'll spend some time. Dr. Rob Zatechka will be with us. Tony Veland, as we're here at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista. Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Here's Chris Schmidt.
Back with you. It's hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We're here at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista, just off the interstate between Cabela's and the Embassy Suites. And Husker Hall of Famer to my right, Tony Veland, safety and national champion, helping us kick off day 1 in Omaha. Tony, good to see you.
You as well.
Appreciate you coming by. We welcome in, as we always do on Mondays with Hail Varsity Radio, Mr. Blackshirt Charlie McBride, and we bring on Coach McBride for another Monday episode. Coach, how was the weekend? How we doing?
Well, it was doing great. The weekend was good. My kids all went home. They were here almost a month, and Debbie and I are kind of breathing better now.
Well, that you have that tone of love in your voice about, when you talk about your children, but you also had that tone of excitement when you said, yeah, they're gone. A whole month? Did you charge them rent?
Well, they were one was here a whole month with his 2 boys, and the other one came for about a week and a half with one of his daughters and his wife. And so, it gets kind of busy after a while.
I bet. Charlie McBride's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Coach, you remember Tony Veland. Tony, you remember Coach McBride. I'll let you say hi, Tony, to Coach.
Coach, look, great to hear your voice, man. You're down in AZ, right?
Yeah. No, I'm living in a little town called White Pigeon, Michigan. And we moved out of Arizona.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay.
And of course, with the virus and some other things, I've been slowed down. I've been slowed down a little bit, but we, I've been up to Ann Arbor a couple of times, and they give me a little bit of guff up there. They're, what kind of people you're running into there.
Of course. No, it's so great to hear your voice. It's great to hear you when you're not yelling at me. So
I keep track of you a little bit, with Steve and his operation over there and working with kids, and I'm proud of you. I'm glad you're doing that kind of stuff.
I appreciate it, Coach.
You mentioned Coach's motivational tactics. Tony Veland. Tony, how did Coach motivate? And we'll hear from Coach Knight in 2 seconds on that motivation.
Well, I'll just say this: I don't think he's ever heard the word warm and fuzzy. That's really not his thing, not kind of his style. No, Coach McBride was great. He was great, but he was straightforward. He wasn't one of these guys that was kind of worrying about your feelings. He was like, listen, you got to grow up. We got to get some people out here that can perform. We want you to grow as a man. We want you to do well on the field as well. And sometimes those conversations didn't go quite as soft as you'd like them to. But he always got the best out of us, and we love him for it.
Coach, I love that tough love.
Well, sometimes I guess I got it from growing up that way. I think my dad used to come to practice once in a while to watch the coach kick my butt, and he enjoyed that part of it. So anyway, but we had so many good players. It was guys that really cared about the program and really, cared about each other and things like that. And I was fortunate to be in there for 20 some years and be part of it. And, I stayed there for a lot of reasons, but most of it was because of the players themselves.
Charlie McBride's with us on Monday with Charlie. Tony Veland joining us, kicking off in Omaha here at the Hail Varsity Club. And excited to be up here in Omaha. Coach, I want to get your thoughts here on the defensive line with Robinson. And also just what you think could happen. Who's playing next to him? Nebraska needs depth, but they need some guys to kind of step forward. How do you feel about the defensive line here as we're early into camp?
Well, I think you got some experience now, but you have a little experience around people that are just starting to, come on and play. And that's what you really need. It's important that you have guys that are leaders already, but I think a lot of those young guys are going to look and see how they play, and that'll be a big thing with them. If you get a bunch of older guys or guys that played before that are really, gung-ho players and really get out there and do it, they'll fall in line with it and realize what it takes. And that's probably the most important thing. On defense, you have to have fun. And you have to, I think when you get together, it's a gang war is what it is. And, if you do it that way, you have some good pressure on them and you do things with the quarterback and make them move around a little bit, and make them nervous. And, that helps. But we always believed in stopping the run first. I mean, I was laughed at when we played Florida. They threw the ball about 80% of the time, and they asked me how they thought we were going to stop, and I said, "Well, we're going to stop the run first." And all the guys in the press laughed. They thought that was a big joke, and I think they ran one play in the second half. I don't know. They weren't big in the running game, so. Those are the things that change people. And when our players knew that they can't throw the ball, they then tend to tee off on people.
Charlie McBride's with us. Tony Veland with us here at the Hail Varsity Club. Tony, going to bring you in here and get your thoughts on just what Coach said, stopping the run, and to your area of expertise, playing that safety spot. What was preached to you, and what do you think this back end can be? Nebraska did lose a lot off to the NFL.
Well, obviously, I'm going to agree with Coach. I mean, for us to be a tough team, especially playing in the Big Ten, where it's a physical league. You've got to have people that are going to be able to stop the run. So that's obviously key. And then being in the secondary, obviously that's extremely important for us because the better our defensive line are, the easier the job is for us to be able to do our jobs. I think we've got some good players. We definitely got some talent on there. I have some concerns just because we did lose some really good players. Guys, the Daniels, we lost JoJo, really good safety and a really good corner, so and I think the thing that really bothers me is we lost guys who were really good leaders and we lost kind of the swag of our team, so to say. We were going in a really good direction. We might not have gotten the wins that we wanted, but from a defensive perspective, like we were imposing our will. We were stopping big teams, in crucial points. And I'm hoping that even though some of those guys aren't here, that younger guys are going to step in, see what they were doing, and kind of mimic some of those things and be able to keep that progression that we had going this year. So I'm looking forward to some big things. But again, the leadership, kind of like what Coach talked about, that's really key. Coaches can only do so much. Players got to get out there on the field and lead. They got to be accountable to each other, and they got to make plays. So that's what I'm expecting.
It's Tony Veland, as he's here with us here. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Charlie McBride, a Monday with Charlie, Hail Varsity Radio at the Hail Varsity Club. Coach, I want to get your take on what Tony just said, and that's one thing I think your side of the ball and really the teams that Tony was a part of, and Coach, the teams that you were a part of, that was different, a difference maker. When it came to that chemistry and the culture and the accountability, and you were able to kind of pound some guys and, dare I say, encourage them to be vocal. Is that fair to say, Coach McBride?
Yeah, I think that, it is. I think it actually is a thing that usually most kids are born with. I mean, there's a lot of things leading up to being good leaders, of course, that you have to learn as you go along, but I think there's some guys that are natural born leaders in that. We were fortunate, though, that we almost had a leader at each position, and they took care of themselves, I mean, it kind of, and, when they met together and everything, there's always somebody there that, that encouraged them, and not being a coach. A team that's fired up and is motivated by players is a lot better team than if they have to be motivated by a coach. Because if they want to really be a team together, I remember we played at Missouri and we got into that overtime game, and I turned around, I'm going to give this big speech, and I saw two guys run by me. Their eyeballs were as big as I said, well, that handled it, and they both went out there. They went out there, and we got a couple of sacks. And I think there's two things that are involved in those things. And one is, if you have a good secondary, guys that really can cut it down, and give the front a chance to make pressure, you end up having a sack caused by the secondary, and vice versa. If you get the front going and they can make that quarterback come out of the pocket, throw the ball in a bad manner that he doesn't want to throw it, then you've got a front coverage, a good coverage in the front. So it works on both sides, and it's a team thing. And so, in other words, the front's working for the secondary, and the secondary's really working for the front.
Coach Charlie McBride's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Coach, can you explain to me that difference between a guy who leads with his words and the guy who leads by example? I mean, it's two different styles of leadership, and you can combine the two, but can you just explain to me the difference and how it manifests itself on the field?
Well, I think, you have different – it's hard for me to exactly pick it out, but I go back to, some of the days where the guys were really obvious was people like George Andrews and some of those guys back in the, in the early days especially. We had guys that didn't say a whole lot but made things happen all the time. And, like I said, George, they called him the smiling assassin, and all he did was turn around and smile. He never even got fired up. He was just smiling and laughing at him. I don't know. And then there's guys like Christian Peter and Jason, and that came out of the family, I think, through hard work, and they demanded something out of themselves. So a lot of times, each position, and I'm familiar, with the front guys because, I spend so much time with them. But the guys in the secondary have to be a little more poised. The guys in front are, they're about half nuts anyway, most of them. And
shaking your head, Tony.
Very true.
But the secondary has to take care of, they have to take care of business because, that's a tough job back there. I mean, people don't realize how tough it really is.
Charlie McBride's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Guys, we'll wrap with this, and it was touched on today by Mickey Joseph a little bit, the back and forth that exists on the offense, the defense. The wideouts didn't have a good day today. The secondary won the day. That was the word from Mickey. Tony, touch on just a couple of minutes here, the back and forth, where if you had a bad day to the offense, how you guys would respond. And Coach McBride, also comment, if you can, on just how that back and forth went with your defense trying to trump the Osborne offense or the Milt offensive line. Tony, you start. Coach, you follow.
Well, and that's, I think it's something that's healthy. I think it's something where, because when you're going up against, your offense, you want to feel that your offense has a chance to really put some points up on people. And so every once in a while, they probably should get you because it's showing them that, their scheme is working. But at the same time, if you have that dominant mindset, and we had that back in the day as Blackshirts, we didn't really care whether we were going against Tommy Frazier or Lamont Green, all those guys. We wanted to kill them all the time. We wanted our practices to actually be hard in the games. So I think that back and forth is really kind of healthy. But at the same time, like when they get you, it's time to go back to the drawing board and find out what needs to be fixed. What holes need to be fixed. Who weren't doing their job, and get on those individuals to make sure that they're corrected before the game. And that goes both ways. And so again, I think it's healthy, and I think it's good. Sometimes the offense has some good days. Sometimes the defense has some good days. But they're feeding on each other and understanding that we're doing this to get better as a team.
Coach, was it ever good to have a day the offense had a good day?
Well, it was really kind of, if you go back and the things that I used to see all the time was maybe on Saturday the defense had just played very well, and and then all of a sudden we have a scrimmage on Wednesday and the offense just stones us, and so it's a back and forth thing, like Tony said. It's a thing where it can happen that way in the season. When you beat Northwestern by 40, 50 points last year, you don't think those guys are sitting around saying, "Oh yeah, we're just a bunch of muffins and we're gonna, get ready to." They know what that's all about, and it's they think it's their turn. So you got to really be aware of some of these things that happen, and they happen inside the team during the spring and early fall with our own guys, and then you turn around, it can happen, week after week. Last year we lost to a bunch of these teams. Maybe our guys are going to say, well, you think you're good, let's see how good you are, and step it up a little bit, and maybe those things will disappear, and you end up making some, scoring points and winning.
Charlie McBride with us, Mondays with Charlie. Coach, we'll do this again. Thanks for jumping on with us today. Always love spending time with you.
Well, good. And Tony, love you, buddy, and take care. Hey, take care of that Steve Warren. Don't let him get to be 400 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Love you too, Coach, and I will get on him about that.
Jeez.
Okay.
Tough love, baby. There it is. Tough love.
See you, Coach. There he is.
Wow.
Charlie McBride. Tony, real quick, bud, AIM Institute.
Yeah, AIM Institute, Director of Business Development there, and basically we're a nonprofit that's trying to get more people into the tech space. We're trying to promote local, and there's a lot of companies that need skilled talent, and they're recruiting out of state. Well, we're trying to get some of our own people in our own community and more minorities in that space to actually take care of those opportunities.
Get in touch with Tony Veland, AIM Institute, of course, the Warren Academy. Man, this was fun. Appreciate you.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right, quick time out. Back with more after this.
And we're back.
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio lesson?
On Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Back here, Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. On the road, day one in Omaha, here with Hail Varsity Radio at the Hail Varsity Club in La Vista. Cabela's to our right and Embassy to our left. We invite you out here back Friday for a strong football kickoff. This is not an arm wrestling contest. Dr. Rob Zatechka sits down next to me. Elijah Herbel back at our ESPN Lincoln studios. Big thanks to our friends at ESPN 590, Omaha's ESPN Husker Radio. We're day one here, and excited to have Dr. Rob Zatechka out, part of the pipeline, Husker Hall of Famer and All-American, Tony Veland. And we just had Coach McBride, who lovingly let Tony know that tell Steve to not get too heavy. exact words.
It's, you know what, you finish playing, it's kind of a constant struggle to I say that as I'm sitting here drinking an incredibly fully loaded beer.
What did we order?
I got Cloud Lifter. It's one of Zip Lines. I figure in honor of you coming up, I'm gonna go with one of the Lincoln beers. So.
Well, good for you, man. No, we've been needing to dip one for a while. We'll do that. Nick Handley's here with his fam, and that's awesome. Nick on noon to 4 leading into us. Rob, camp today on the offensive line. We a couple weeks ago talking line. What does Teddy and Turner on that left side do for you?
I was just gonna say it's nice seeing those guys out there getting snaps, taking reps, and kind of banging around a little bit. That's the thing that. I think Turner was going to be ready. I didn't have a lot of doubts about that. That knee injury with Teddy, within the realm of, there's ACL tears that aren't that bad. There's ACL tears that are pretty bad. And, my understanding is that Teddy's was pretty darn good tear.
Nasty.
He did some damage to that knee, and the fact that he's back out there at practice right at the start here is key, I think. And you hope that knee continues to progress, that he continues to progress as a player. But I thought he was by far and away the best returning offensive lineman on the team. And that's saying a lot for a guy that played last year as a true freshman, because even last year when I watched him play, I thought he was pushing Cam Jurgens in terms of that status as the best lineman on the team. And you see what happened with Cam. The guy's a second-round draft pick. And in my opinion, is one of the better centers to come through Lincoln over the last, I don't know, at least 10, 12 years. So
enlighten me, and Elijah will jump in as well, but you played with Aaron Graham, was incredible. Jake Young, God rest his soul, incredible. And following, Nebraska's been a spot for centers to thrive. What's it take to be a good center? What's being asked of a Hickson? What's being asked of a Piper? What's being asked of that race for center? Remington obviously is the gold standard, but
one, get the snap.
Right. No, but I think, they might do some more under center.
It is. And that's a position where, that guy touches the ball on every single play. There's in general, there's two guys that are touching the ball on every play from scrimmage, and that's the center and the quarterback. And so, we can crack jokes about the snap. We can make fun of Cam's, whatever that was, kind of that first year and a half that he started. But that's a situation where it impacted games. Once you got that snap, that was a solid position for him. So you're kind of the point guy for the offensive line. And it's oftentimes it's a guy who's making calls. He's reading the defense. I know at least when we played at both the college and NFL level, kind of the first calls always came from the center position, and all the other calls along the line of scrimmage were based upon what the center was reading the defense. And so you can have a little bit of variability in some of those alignment-based calls, and they don't have to be perfect as long as everybody follows what the center's doing. And so center makes that call, gets it right, everything else is going to fall into place after that. They're kind of the captain of the offensive line. And so you got to get the snap down. You've got to have an understanding of defensive alignment and that ability to make the calls. And you've got to have that recognition quick, because you're talking about a span of seconds that you're coming up, identifying the middle linebacker, identifying the safeties if they're creeping up or dropping back, and making that initial call. So it's that recognition, sort of that student of the game aspect has to be there as well too.
Rob Zatechka is with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Rob, talk about the body size of the center. It almost feels like it's a little bit different than other positions along the offensive line. I think back to my high school days where it's, you find the shortest offensive lineman, you stick him at center. And then, I even think about here in recent years, Cam Jurgens a little undersized. Going back a couple years, Mike Caputo a little undersized. Hickson comes in at about
it's
6'3", 305, so not necessarily undersized, but smaller than some other guys he's going to be playing with.
Yeah, but it's not the 6'5", 6'6", 6'8" guys either. I mean, you don't see those guys, and I think a lot of it kind of gets down to you've got to be able to maintain that low center of gravity. You got to get low enough to play handball against a curb when you're in those interior spots. And if you're a guy who's like a Teddy Prochaska, if you're like Turner, if you're somebody who's built like, I'm thinking like Barnhart, anybody who's like that, those 6'7" on up guys, that's just, it's tough for those guys. Now you do see some tall centers out there over the years. I guess I'm thinking back to like a guy like Don Mosbar with this is old Raider days back in the 1970s,
I think
1980s. Yeah, that's really old Raider center
Used
right
to,
there. The double odd on the jersey
right.
there. But it's that's though you just didn't see a lot of those 6'4" plus guys at center.
It's too hard to get low.
It is. It's just that you all of a sudden you'll start losing that leverage. And so when I look at it, the guys we've had recently, Hicks, and you look at Cam Jurgens, it's all the height you need. Now, you want a little bit of reach on the arms. You don't want a T-Rex out there playing center. You want a guy who's got some length on his arms in terms of being able to snap the ball, but still be able to get his hands on those interior defensive linemen and keep those guys at a distance away from you. You want the same thing at guard. You want the same thing at tackle. That's where you hear the term, a certain player, they've got reach, they've got length. Mm-hmm. You hear those terms thrown out a lot. It's basically you need a little bit of a longer arm on your offensive linemen just so they can maintain that separation from the defense. And oftentimes you don't necessarily find that on a lot of shorter guys. If you look at Cam Jurgens, for a guy who is 6'3", maybe 6'4", he had great reach. One of the things that I think has made things work for Trent Hickson in his time at Nebraska, because keep in mind, this is a guy who walked on from Scott. And he ended up, he's got a little over a year as a starter under his belt at the guard position. But part of the reason that he was able to make it work is he's got some reach. He's not 6'5", but he's got that reach, and that's kind of what you have to have playing that position.
Dr. Rob Zatechka with us, Doc Talk podcast. Him and Travis Justice, of course, catch their episodes. We're here at the Hail Varsity Club, kicking off day one in Omaha. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Big thanks to Tony Veland, who was with us in this first hour, along with Coach McBride. Also, Brandon Kinnie came by, a little Better Call Saul shout out for
I'd love that
for the 2010 Huskers. It's pretty good. Dr. Rob, a thought here on what is at least it looked like today. Short snippet, I know 30 minutes, but with Turner moving inside. You're a guy that played tackle his whole career and also in the NFL. My
junior year actually was the starting left guard.
You were a guard at 93, huh?
Yeah, so 91, 92 tackle, 93. I was the starting left guard.
Next to
had Lance Lumberg at tackle.
Lumpy was at left.
Yeah, Lumpy at left and Graham at center. But I was also the second string tackle.
Okay.
So in all honesty, basically Joel Wilkes and I kind of shared that guard spot.
Okay.
So I'd go in for a couple series at guard, then Joel would come in. I'd go give Lance a break at left tackle, go give Wiegert a break at right tackle. Then I'd go take a break and then come back in and just Joel, Lance, Zach, and I would kind of the four of us would sort of share sort of that left guard, left tackle, right tackle rotation.
Was it hard cross training?
The only time was it tended to kind of muck up when I'd get my grades back from Tenneper, because I remember the story I always tell. Actually, I played both tackle spots in 92 as a sophomore. I was the swing tackle. And in that Colorado game in 92, where we just nuked Colorado on Halloween night, Tommy Frazier, it was sort of Frazier had started a couple games prior to that, but it was like Tommy's coming out party where we just annihilated Colorado and Lincoln. I thought I'd grade out outstandingly well. I was making
good defense,
great calls left and right. Those Colorado teams were always a who's who of the next spring's NFL draft. But I made some great calls, had some amazing blocks. It was one of the better games I played in my mind at that time. And I remember coming in to check out my how well I graded out on Monday at team meetings, and I kind of had this pretty mediocre grade. And I remember I kind of had this look of disappointment on my face, and Coach Tenneper sees the look, and he's like, "Well," he goes, "Rob, you were swinging back and forth between positions the whole game, and." He goes, you'd block the guy. You'd block the heck out of the guy. It'd be a great block, but you'd be at left tackle and you'd be stepping with a right tackle footwork on the play. Or you'd be at right tackle and you'd be stepping with a left tackle footwork on the play. And I'd be like, but yeah, coach, I kicked the guy's ass. Though. And he's like, yeah, but you didn't step right. So I got to downgrade you. So it was things like that would pop up when you switch positions. You got to be careful because it's often easy to know the assignment, know who you have to block, but you go out and you block the guy, and you may block him effectively most of the time, but you might be doing it with the technique from one of the other spots you're playing.
Dr. Rob Zatechka, we're against a hard break. Hang out 5 more minutes. Dr. Rob Zatechka having a nice zip line here. We're at the Hail Varsity Club. More thoughts. We continue on a Monday. Hail Varsity presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
And now back to Hail Varsity Radio.
The white hat. We are pointing out friends and family. That's Garth Glitzman. Yeah, right there. That's Garth Glitzman. G-Unit is back. One more time. We're on the air. Yeah, we're Garth's like, hey, how are you? I'm running. Commissioner Silver's hiding with a trank dart. Don't go on the radio.
That's an NBA guy right there.
I know it is. Dr. Rob Zatechka is here, Pipeline Hall of Famer, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We're here at the Hail Varsity Club. Invite you out. We'll be here on Fridays leading up to Ireland. I want to see you here 4 to 6. And then home, check that, road football Fridays. We'll be up here getting your weekend kicked off. Dr. Rob, it's been a lot of fun talking O-line with you and getting into it. A couple of quick questions. One, the back and forth is what we highlighted with some of Mickey Joseph's comments today about how the wideouts got it handed to him, and I'm expounding on that, but he wasn't in a good tone today. Mickey Joseph wasn't. The back and forth with your units, and Coach McBride touched on it as well, but what did that do for you? I mean, it wasn't always pleasant, but it's probably necessary. The back and forth between the O-line and D-line.
100%. I mean, I think it's kind of like there's the whole iron sharpens iron mentality. And I think playing against those guys was absolutely key. We went full pads a lot in practice. I mean, there was a lot of contact, and I think that was something Osborne always believed in. Now, I don't think we were beating each other up, and I thought Osborne as a head coach was very judicious about how we used contact in practice. But it's not like we were out there doing walkthroughs with these guys. I mean, when you got NFL guys butting heads with NFL guys, that makes everybody better. And if you've got the opportunity to do that, it's going to make you a better player. And so you've got to be able to have that. And I thought it was absolutely key in terms of our development. First one-on-one pass protection I had to do in practice ever at Nebraska was against Kenny Walker.
Oh, wow.
First team All-American.
Kenny's awesome. Love him.
Made the Pro Bowl with the Denver Broncos. I didn't even see the guy. I got down in my stance. They said, Hut. I come up. He's gone. He was around me so fast that I never even had a chance to get a finger on him. That's the kind of competition you've got to have if you want to get better. And that only comes from getting out there, putting on the pads, and having that level of contact. And again, as long as you do it judiciously, it's something that's going to make a team better. So you got to have that.
Rob Zatechka is with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Rob, you talk about that competition. I've been hearing stories at a camp here in the past week or so of offensive linemen going to get some hydration IVs after practice. They're drinking the pickle juice shots, pickle juice popsicles. Is that commonplace in a fall camp, or is that telling you something about the type of intensity that they're going at this fall camp?
It's, I think it's a couple of things. One, it's freaking hot out. I mean, when it's 93 degrees and humid as all heck, you're going to have some of that going on. But it is. I think it's. I would, kind of as sort of one of these old school guys. Part of me always has that, like, well, these guys need to get in better shape. I say that tongue in cheek. Believe me. I know how Zach Duvall's the kind of strength coach that when he puts guys through a workout, if a few guys aren't puking, then he's not happy, because that means he hasn't trained them hard enough. These guys are working hard. They're training hard during the off season. These guys are going through the paces. I truly do believe that. I think it's a sign of the weather. It's brutal out right now. It's a sign of the intensity of the practice, and that's something that, like, you like to see. You like to see a level of intensity that by the time practice is over, guys are spent. You want to practice as hard as you're playing a game. I mean, it was always one of those kind of coaching axioms that the practice has to be harder than the game. The training that you do in the off season has to be harder than the practice. That's where success comes from. And so if these guys are out there and they're butting heads, they're getting after it, you're having a high level of physicality, you're getting that level of football conditioning in through these practices. That's something you've got to have. So I like seeing that.
Another zip line?
Oh, I'm good right now.
Straw?
For
your beer?
No straw. No straw.
What is raw? What?
I'm just messing with it. I'm warming up to the fanny pack question.
Yeah, what about it?
I'm asking the fanny pack in college.
There is no question. Fanny packs are key.
Okay, explain to me the necessity here of the fanny pack, because you're the only guy in the pipeline that wore a fanny pack in those pictures.
Well, I'm the only guy. There's one picture, and I'm the only guy in that picture that you can see the damn fanny pack. But I think like 2 out of 3 of three of us were wearing.
But you're the guy who takes it on social media hey, dude, what was in the fanny pack?
So here's the thing, okay? Fanny packs.
Everyone had them in the early 90s.
Everybody had one. You can't tell me you didn't have a fanny
I didn't.
pack.
I didn't.
Sad. That's just sad, dude.
Dude, I was super chubby. It would have.
I'm not angry. I'm disappointed.
Okay.
I'm disappointed. No, dude, there's a minivan of like clothing accoutrements.
Did you have the hacky sack in it?
I didn't play hack. We were offensive line. We didn't play hacky sack. That's what the soccer.
Because all the kids I knew
did.
at Southeast that had the fanny packs had lots of things in their fanny pack and
a hacky sack.
They had a hacky sack.
It was so. All of us wore the football team issued athletic shorts.
Yeah. There's pockets.
No pockets. Zero. They didn't put pockets in them back then. This is like the dawn of time. So pockets had not been invented yet. And so if you're walking around and you got a money clip, you got your chap, you got your hotel room key,
phone eventually.
Dude, this is 1994.
So the brick phone.
Yeah, it came in its own fanny pack. The phone had its own backpack basically that you had to carry.
So no one kept the fanny pack on for the various pipeline pictures but you.
I didn't. You know what? I was gonna. I had no problem representing the fanny pack. I was secure enough.
Someone's got a problem with it
in my self-esteem that I had no problem with the fanny pack.
And there's lots of
The Rock wore one.
That's true. And you know
fanny
what?
Pack.
And you know what you didn't do? You were the guy that didn't wear the turtleneck with the chain around.
Yeah, that was a bad look in Nebraska.
And it was a bad look. The look The Rock would say. Rob Zatechka, we're winding down on Monday. It's Hail Varsity. Hang on.
Can't believe you brought up fanny pack.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at hailvarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time here at Hail Varsity Club on a Monday. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Big thanks to those who came out. Big thanks to Tony Veland. Big thanks to Brandon Kinnie. Big thanks to Dr. Rob Zatechka, of course, the Doc Talk podcast. And it's just in fun. I don't need to be broke in half on StreamYard about your fanny pack,
I feel bad, dude.
Because I didn't get to experience a fanny pack as a kid or an adult.
I'm a little upset you don't have one on right now.
No, I don't. Your point about pockets is well.
Although now so apparently roughly right around 1997, they invented cargo shorts.
Yeah, you've got your cargo shorts going.
Again, it's sort of the.
I love them.
It's sort of it's like the cargo shorts replaced the
fanny pack.
They replaced the fanny pack. It's sort of the. It's
the MacGyver utility belt deal,
dude. It is the Dodge Caravan minivan. It's comfort of like menswear. It's like, do they look good? No, not really.
But you don't care.
Are they stylish? Not at all. Are they comfortable? And can you put stuff in them? Heck
and
yes.
They are functional.
They are
absolutely functional.
They're definitely function over form.
What's the problem with the backpack
versus the fanny pack?
Yeah. See, okay, one, too big. Makes your neck and shoulders ache if you wear it around too much. And then, so the thing is that, like I said, the cargo shorts have replaced the fanny pack. So I got to be honest, probably not going back to the fanny pack, despite my love for that era. Probably not going back to the fanny pack. So the problem with a backpack is I want something that if I got to get up and, I don't know, run out of here real quick, building's on fire.
Got a beer.
I don't need to grab any. Well, I'll grab my beer, definitely. But I don't need to grab anything. If it's cargo shorts, I'm already wearing them. If it's a backpack, I got to go find my backpack.
When did the fanny pack go goodbye?
Oh boy, I think
training camp.
Yeah, I think that thing disappeared as soon as I graduated from Nebraska because the New York Giants, their athletic shorts had pockets. they invent sometime around late 94, early 1995, at least in the New York metropolitan area, athletic shorts started being made with pockets. So the fanny pack went away.
Steve tweets in the fanny packs were to hold the captain's wrappers, whatever that means.
That's a reference I'm not getting.
I don't get it either. I need to enlighten myself. Dr. Rob, what's coming up on the next pod, buddy?
Right now we're gonna kind of start gearing up towards the actual season preview. So we got to touch base. We kind of had it actually scheduled with one of the beat guys for Northwestern.
Okay.
So we got to circle back around with him and kind of get that podcast taped and recorded. We got some fun stuff that's coming up. So I don't want to spill the beans too quickly before Travis
gets it going.
But I mean, we got some fun stuff that's going to be coming up that's going to literally harken back to our television days. When
Sound Off?
Yeah, when we were doing Sound Off together. So we've got some fun stuff that's coming up here. That's going to be it's going to be really cool.
Rob Zatechka, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Good to see you guys.
All right, back tomorrow on Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.